Hey everyone, we've been working on a lace monitor socializing video, taming, socializing, whatever you want to do it. Basically, this one's going to be a little bit different to the last couple of videos. Lace monitors are highly intelligent animals, and I just feel you can kind of work with them a lot more. And we're going to be working with some hatchies as well, so we're going to show you how we go through our process of kind of removing their fear and I guess giving them a bit of enrichment and positive reinforcement, so that they not only don't fear being handled, but they actually seek out the interactions. Now this guy here he's our big male. Big male Lacey. He's I think 7 years old. And he's the father of most of the ones that we've, all the ones that we've produced up to this stage. And you've met our female, our girl. We measured this guy about 2 years ago. He's about meter 52 long, and jumped off. But yeah, we'll get into the video and show you how we go about the young Lacey socializing. Hey everyone, we've been working on a lace monitor socializing video, taming, socializing, whatever you want to do it. Basically, this one's going to be a little bit different to the last couple of videos. Lace monitors are highly intelligent animals, and I just feel you can kind of work with them a lot more. And we're going to be working with some hatchies as well, so we're going to show you how we go through our process of kind of removing their fear and I guess giving them a bit of enrichment and positive reinforcement, so that they not only don't fear being handled, but they actually seek out the interactions. Now this guy here he's our big male. Big male Lacey. He's I think 7 years old. And he's the father of most of the ones that we've, all the ones that we've produced up to this stage. And you've met our female, our girl. We measured this guy about 2 years ago. He's about meter 52 long, and jumped off. But yeah, we'll get into the video and show you how we go about the young Lacey socializing. Okay, so socializing Lacey's from a kind of youngish age. Basically, we've left them for about 6 months with no interaction but feeding, cleaning, watering. We walk past the enclosure every day. They see us, and they've gotten used to us, and they know that we're not going to come in and we're going to terrorize them, basically. So here, what I'm doing here is now Lacey's are incredibly inquisitive, so that's why it kind of helps this technique go along. So basically, I'm going in with a closed kind of fist initially, just letting them tongue lick me, going in from underneath ideally, so it's not like a threatening interaction, and going in slowly as well. So you can see the lace monitor is a little bit apprehensive, a little bit puffy at the moment, but not aggressive. Now if you start with if you start straight up, they're going to be fearful, they're going to be aggressive. You can see the yawn there, so that's what they will do quite regularly once they're a bit puffed up. Again, it's a big muscle underneath there, like it's a big their throat is, they use a lot for defense and breathing and everything, so they're always kind of yawning when they're quite puffed up, and it could be a threat display as well. But generally, as long as they're tongue flicking and their tail's not curled, you're pretty good there. You kind of you can see on this one he's not overly upset. He's cautious, and he's kind of thinking about it. And you got to leave there for quite a while. So this one's slightly different temperament. You can see he's not really worried too much, but at the same time he's a more timid lace monitor than the previous one I was showing you. He is a bit more used to being touched. He's kind of come down in the food bowl before when I've held the food bowl up to him, but because he is in the same enclosure and he's a much smaller lace monitor, he's probably not quite as bold as the other one. The other one's very bold and very food driven. This one's still food driven, but it's not as bold as the other one. So you can see here I'm kind of touching in various spots. I can't really safely get under the chin there, because I'd have to lift up the mouth and he could just quite simply open the mouth. So I'm just going there. I'm going very slowly underneath him, just lifting him up. He's a little bit apprehensive about it, but he's not darting off. His tail's not curling. He's just a little bit puffy, so he's not overly upset about the situation. And here he's just tongue flicking and seeing what the smell is of this strange person that's just kind of picked him up. And he's looking at me as well. So the hand is there, and that's a big thing. The hand is the thing that's touching him, and the hand is the thing that he's smelling. But at the same time, they're looking at your head a lot. They're looking at you, and they're kind of like they're noticing you, and your head is the thing that kind of, it's a big face. It's kind of gonna be the most scary thing to them, really. The hand is there, but it's kind of it's not as scary an item. If they're going to try and charge at you and bite you, generally if they're looking at your head, they're going to try and go for your head, because they know that that's where the problem is. And you can see again, he's doing once he's got his throat puffed out, he'll yawn quite a bit, but the tongue's still flicking quite a lot, so he's still sussing out, still seeing what's going on. This guy is a bit more of a timid lace monitor than the other one again, so he'll take a little bit longer to get to a good socialized area, but we take things slow and kind of get him used to smelling you, and this is a good way for him to get used to smelling. It's in his enclosure, he's not being restrained at all, he's able to move about if he wanted to. He's quite warm, he's had the warmth of the day, the lights are still on, so he's able to jump off and kind of wander about if he wants to, but at the same time he's not too sure what's going on. He knows that it's not like an immediate danger to him, but at the same time he's a bit uncertain, so it'll take him a while to get used to it. And all of this training that we're doing with them is basically like the initial stages. We're letting them know by just walking by the enclosure, cleaning it. I generally clean it with them in there as well, so they'll be up high or they'll be over one side, and I'll just scoop the stuff out and put new stuff in and pull the water dish out and pull the food dish out and do all that stuff with as minimal contact as possible for, like I said, the first 3 to 6 months. And you don't have to do that. You can go for the other style that's in our other videos with the Panoptes and the Mertens, where you pick them up and you do all that. But with Lacey's, because they're so inquisitive, this style does work well, because they will actually come to you to suss you out, and that's I find that like a really good way to do it, because when they get older and you've got them out in the enclosure, instead of going up to them and picking them up and them having no problem with you picking them up, you can actually step into the enclosure and they'll come and check you out, and they'll climb up on you like our female does, and like our male does, they'll just suss you out. So he's had enough there. He's climbed back up. Just got his little threat display. Again, the tail hasn't curled at all there, so he's not overly worried. So these are some of our other young laceys. So they've just had a big feed. This guy here, where I've got the hand there, he's incredibly food responsive. So at all of our juvenile laceys here, they're all about 6 months old. Different sizes, different enclosures, but they're 6 months old, and like I said, we haven't done too much with them apart from just feed them, water them, clean their enclosure, and kind of walk past their enclosure every day as it's in the lounge room, so that they know that we're not a threat, that we're not going to constantly come in and try to harass them. So the reason they're not, and that's the reason they're not super aggressive at us at the moment. They're not like puffing up, they're not tail whipping, they're not charging us. Again, they do have that food response. So this guy's got an incredible food response. So he's not fearful, but he's not used to me coming in there. So he's kind of sussing that out. But he's also had a bit of a feed, so he's not gonna entirely think that I'm food at the moment, and he's not incredibly food driven. So at this point, he is still kind of trying to suss out what my smell is. But if I give him a little, like if he starts to, like he's tongue flicking, so that's great. You want them to lick you, you want them to like know what your smell is, but you also want to, like if he starts to get too concentrated on it at this point in time in the training, he doesn't necessarily know that your smell is not food. He hasn't associated your smell without being food. So basically everything that comes into the enclosure up till now has kind of been generally a food item. So he's got to associate you with not being food, and a good way to do that when he does come up and lick you is to just kind of, you put your fingers underneath his chin and give him a little chin scratch, or just put them underneath a little bit when he's starting to, so you want him to lick you enough, but if he's starting to get a bit too concentrated on you, you want to just move your fingers under there just a little bit, just to kind of break his just to break his concentration. This one's the other one in this enclosure, so we've got two in this enclosure, and this guy's just come up from underneath, so he's he's the slightly smaller one, so he's less food responsive and more inquisitive. He's quite comfortable with me, but he's a lot less food responsive. So we're back up to the top enclosure now with the one that we started on, and this is day 2 with just interacting with him. So basically I've just gone straight up, let him lick me first, and then given him a bit of a chin scratch. So again, the previous day we gave him a feed, we let him smell us. We tried to do a little bit of a touch under the chin, but he wasn't overly interested, but he was interested in smelling us. Day 2, we're in there and we're letting him lick us, and then we're giving him a good chin scratch. And again, the little chin massage is a great tool to use. Not only is it a good concentration break, so you can kind of introduce yourself as not food, but they enjoy it. It relaxes them down, and as you can see, like with day 2 of the kind of training interactions that we're doing, he's taking really well to it. He's not puffing up, he's just nice and relaxed, and he's just quite enjoying it. We've got the others up there just kind of sitting there watching what's going on, and again, because they're seeing the interactions with one of their cage mates, that also helps us with the progress with them. So if you've got cage mates and one just happens to be a little bit more interactive than the others, it helps greatly with. Alright, so this is our female. We showed you the male at the father of the hatchies at the start of the video. This is the mother of the hatchies. So she's about 9 years old at the moment, and yeah, so basically to kind of summarize and wrap the video up, we give them a different kind of training to what we do with other baronids, but you can do like you can do whatever technique works for you. If the handling straight up works for you, go for the handling straight up. We did the same with the laces that we did with the parenti, basically just kind of taking it slow. I know for parentis we had to, they were quite shy, so even just to get them to eat, I kind of covered their enclosure with like towels around the outside just so they didn't see me, but the enclosure was in my bedroom at the time, so there was quite a bit of activity, and I did that for at least 2 weeks till they were eating quite solidly, and then I did start the interactions relatively young, but kind of slow. Like with them, I just opened the enclosure door a little bit and popped my hand in there and waited for them to come up and explore, and same with this girl. Like that's kind of what I did with her as well, and the male, and but yeah, it does make it a little bit easier if you've got, to a certain extent, it makes it easier if you've got siblings, because they'll see you doing things with other ones that are a bit more agreeable, and that can help things go along. But at the same time, you've got siblings and you've got one that's like really going well and one that's incredibly food responsive, or just a lot more scared and intimidated and will rush you from the other side, then it's easier to separate them, because while you're trying to sit there with one hand kind of getting one goanna used to you, you can't really pull away really quickly when the other one goes to dart at you to try and take a bite. So you just got to play it by ear and kind of figure out what works best for you and what works best for the goannas. And you got to remember, these like goannas are living creatures just like us, and they're gonna have their kind of own little personalities. So even in species, none of them are going to be similar. Like as you saw from the earlier in the video, with all the different hatchies that we got from the same clutch, it's every one of them's got their own different little personalities and ticks, and you got to kind of watch that and pay attention to it and figure it out. And then within the species, like working with different species, you're going to kind of figure out what makes them tick and what they look like, and so what their like head bobs mean, and what their tongue flicks mean. You definitely want to know the difference between like I'm thinking your food tongue flick and what's this smell is curious to me kind of thing. But again, use the concentration breaks, which they're great to use. I've talked about them before, and they're whether it's like a pat under the chin or a touch somewhere else, or just whatever it is to break the concentration. If they're starting to think too much on food and think that you're food, then you've got to use that to kind of break the concentration. Whether you even got a snake hook, like for instance, you open up an enclosure with one that's not quite tamed or not quite socialized with you, or doesn't really know you when you're walking in, you use a snake hook just to kind of put gently underneath their mouth when they come to run at you, and just to kind of break the concentration and get them thinking. And after they kind of stop from just charge to kind of eat you, then they'll start to think about it, and they'll say, oh, well, what's this, what's going on, what's happening, perhaps it isn't food. And then that's when they get a chance to smell you and know that you're kind of coming in. And like we do the same with our snakes. Like we'll get the snakes out for the shows with a snake hook, and some we don't have to, but most we do get out with a snake hook, and that's just the same kind of concept, basically breaking the concentration. Once they know that it's not food, then you can work with them, and like these guys, they don't see us as a food source because we're way too big. And when you build a bond with them and show them that there's no fear in the interactions, then they do actually enjoy the interactions. They quite like it. They're quite intelligent, so they don't really want to bite you. It's just if they're afraid of you, then they're going to kind of want to defend themselves, and if they mistake you for food, obviously you're going to get bitten as well. So you kind of want to work with them, show them that there's nothing to be afraid of, and however long that takes. Again, with training, you always want to make sure that food, like their general needs like food and water and clean enclosures are a top priority. So if at any point during the training you find that they're not eating or they're going off their food, then you're probably pushing it too hard, and you need to dial back and just make sure they're eating well before you start again, and take it slow. Diet wise as well, we with the hatchies, sometimes we breed our own rats and mice, so we, like with the 5 hatchies in there was a point where I was going through probably 100 binky mice a week, just because we feed whole prey items. We breed them, so we've got the option to do that. I think it's healthiest for the hatchies, definitely, to get them kind of growing solid and strong and healthy. There are other options you can do, like even with the adults, we'll give them whole prey items as well, but we'll also mix it up with chicken wingtips, and so you got a bit of both, a bit of calcium in there as well. We'll give them chicken hearts and occasional chicken liver and roux meat steak as well. So we're going to mix it up, so you got a bit of organs and bones and meat and everything if we don't give them whole items, because you kind of want to mimic whole items as much as possible. Even when they're outdoors like this, you don't want to just rely on kind of mince or eggs or something like that. You want to give them good solid whole prey items. But yeah, so that's I guess that's kind of it really. You work with one of these guys and you got an amazing companion, and you just kind of respect each other and learn from each other, and make sure you pay attention and kind of sit there and watch them. And they're awesome animals to have. They're awesome kind of goannas. We love goannas all up. But yeah, I'll end this video here because I'm kind of rambling on, and we'll see you in the next one.